Here we go. Everyone, do not adjust your TV sets, your phone, your internet. You have not entered the Matrix or a parallel universe. This is happening. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ready Bang, the number one arm wrestling podcast in the world. I am your host, the Aussie Arm Wrestler, and as always, I am the 2019 Melbourne Cup, 80 to 95 kilos, third place getter, the most sought after trophy in arm wrestling. But boy, oh boy, do I have a guest here. This guy has single-handedly changed the world of arm wrestling. He's influenced and inspired, including myself, multiple generations of pullers. This guy is a multiple national champion. He's a bad man. He's a multiple European champion. And to top that off, a multiple world champion. Not only that, he's the inventor of the super match. And he is made of steel with sex appeal. And he even taught The Rock how to raise an eyebrow. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Neil Pickup. Neil, my man, finally, thank you for coming. How are you?
I'm okay, mate, and I'm honoured to be asked to come on the show. Thank you very much for the invite, dude. That's an incredible build-up. That's probably, in fact, I'm not going to say probably, that's definitely the most elaborate, complex, and fabricated build-up that I've ever had. Many years of being involved in arm wrestling. So we're already in new territory, and I'll take it, mate.
Yeah,
I will take that. I'll endorse it. I'll say, yeah, it's all true. It's all true. It's not, but it's good. One thing just to pick up on, though, mate, when you said at the beginning, don't adjust your sets, unless, of course, you can make it slightly narrower and reduce the side tits.
Yeah. I'm all about the Photoshop to get rid of my love handles, and of course I couldn't help myself, but I knew you were going to wear Arm Wars, and I had to rep the Arm Wars shirt. If you haven't already, just go to everything Neil Pickup and just buy everything. Buy everything. Clear his shelves out because the stuff's quality, and we owe him at least that. But what has been happening in the world of Neil Pickup at this stage?
Crazy busy time. It's a crazy busy time for arm wrestling generally, Jake. I mean, unbelievably busy. It's funny, the COVID lockdown situation, many people would have thought that it could have been disastrous, truly disastrous for our sport. But in effect, there's been a lot of positives come out of it. I know that sounds crazy, but if you reflect on some of the things that have happened in the general arm wrestling community during this time, the massive negative of not having the big promotions in play has been tempered to some extent by people picking up the ball and running with it. And out of that, we've had some truly magic, unforgettable moments, and I've been very fortunate to be involved with a couple of those. And I'm really excited to be a fan in the sport myself and be able to sit back and watch some of the stuff, some of the new talent that's emerging and some of the old talent that's pushing the game forward. So, yeah, it's really exciting times. And obviously, I've got Arm Wars around the corner as well. Imminent. Only like 6 weeks out now from Arm Wars UK. The reality check. So it's the first card we've done in, I'm going to say, maybe 6 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, it's been unreal. And yeah, and I am a pure example of something that's come out of COVID. I mean, that's when I pretty much launched what I was doing, and arm wrestlers and pullers have all been accessible. So I've been thoroughly grateful for it. But when a world champion comes on the show, mate, I am going to have a beer. And if I can quote someone, lovely darts. Lovely darts.
Darts.
But we've got to go back in time because with people that are new to my channel and new to arm wrestling, I think people just don't understand how much of a bad man you are on the table. I'm going to say because I don't think you passed it at all. And it all started at 13 years old. I mean, is that when the juices were flowing in the nether regions in the agates, and is that when the supernatural came? How did you find arm wrestling?
Yeah, so my dad was into training, so my dad enjoyed training in the gym, And my idol in life always has been and always will be my dad. You know, he's that might sound strange to people. He's just a motor mechanic, but he's my hero. He's the best at what he does. He's been the most incredible daddy that you could ever be. And he's given me opportunity. He couldn't have given me more. I mean, a lot of, people will say, oh, I had it hard. I had this, we weren't rich growing up or anything like that. We didn't have a lot of money, but my dad would have given, if there was 25 hours in a day, he'd have given them in my direction. So you can ask no more, and he was fundamental in my involvement in everything that I've done in life, really. And arm wrestling was one of those. I remember, like a lot of kids, my sort of background was in fight sports, funnily enough. A lot of my family were ironically into boxing. On my dad's side, wrestling, my mum's side, boxing. And a number of on my dad's side sort of crossed over, and we had a sort of family connection with the sport of boxing. My uncle Billy was fought for the world title, Billy Bryan, against a guy called Jackie Brown for the lightweight world title back in the day. And that was always like, the family were proud of it, Guy fought for the world title. He took it on short notice. And it's always been one of those things, like the old campfire tales,
Yeah.
Where I remember Uncle Billy fought Jackie Brown for the world title. I was like, whoa. It was just great. And he was like an idol man as well growing up. Always aspired to achieve something in sport. And my dad was very much behind that. He's very much an alpha male, real man's man, likes banter, likes a laugh. And all of the usual suspects in terms of what you do, father and son relationship type stuff, World's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
I'd be, sat at Christmas time when they show it here in the UK. I'd watch the World's Strongest Man on Christmas on TV with my dad. And it's amazing to think, really. I used to watch Bill Kazmaier, Jeff Kay, guys like that, and now I'm working alongside Bill. It's funny how things happen, but he was a massive hero of mine. Grew up watching him on the TV as a young child. I had a friend, a fella called Peter Tattersall, and we used to train like hell. We had a set of ordinary dumbbells, just little dumbbells, a couple of 6 kilo weights, and stick them on when we were very young, like 8, 9 years old. And we just messed around with the weights. We always wanted to be strong. And my dad used to take me to the gym, but he didn't want me to train weights because I was too young to do that. So at the end of the training session, he'd always say, come on, let's have an arm wrestling match. And it became a thing. It was a thing to me. It was like, I remember my dad, enduring memory, he'd say, are you doing it yet? And I'd be going crazy. He didn't know anything about arm wrestling, but he'd just hold me in the center. Oh, come on, are you doing it yet? Are you trying? And I wanted him to know that I was trying. I wanted him to. So I arm wrestled anyone and everyone. And time I was like 12 years old, 11, 12 years old. I was gifted at it. I found I had natural ability. So that sort of leads you. It became a party piece for me, Jake. Yeah. And everybody I knew, I was the kid that arm wrestled. Oh, just arm wrestle my friend. He's only a kid, but he can arm wrestle really good. And it became a thing. I started arm wrestling against bigger guys, older teenagers, men. And that's how it started. It just went roll from there. And then obviously the Over the Top film came around and it was promoted worldwide. And not far from where I live, about an hour away in Manchester, they held qualifier. So a friend of mine saw a clipping in the newspaper advertising this thing. And he's like, oh, we got to go. You got to go. You're the best arm wrestler in the world. I'm like 13, 12. I was a kid. Was I 12 or 13? I can't remember. I'm like that kind of age. I think it was 80s. Laurie Cole would come here and tell you exactly when. So we went down. Had to get my dad to sign the old parental guidance form. They didn't want me to compete. And I entered the Over the Top. I was doing well. When I started to win a few matches, it became like, holy, who's this guy? This 13-year-old kid's like beating some of the dudes in this thing.
Jeez.
And it's funny actually. There's a kid. One of the guys I train with. all my career. A fella called Ian Stones, one of my closest friends in the world, Ian. He was on the Arm Wars series. For the people who watch the Arm Wars series will know Ian Two Big Stones. And bantamweight guy, he was at the Arm Wars that day. Sorry, excuse me. You can tell it's been a long day. He was at the over the top that day, qualifier. And he was backstage messing around. He'd lost a match and he was arm wrestling another dude on the floor, just going at it on the floor with this guy. And he said he remembered this big commotion going on where they said, "Oh, this 13-year-old kid's just beat one of the guys who's one of the favourites," you know. And that was obviously me, but we didn't cross paths that day. And then, my God, at least 15 years later, I start promoting the sport. Ian shows up at an event, and we've been lifelong friends. Oh. It's funny how it's sliding doors, mate. You know how things work out. It was just right.
It's been amazing because you're promoting of the sport and you're pulling in the sport almost go side by side. I mean, you were trying to run events, you know, as a teenager. What was that like, trying to organise events and then go off because you became national champion many times and then you became European champion? How was it? Was it more inspiring or was it more exhausting? Do you think? No, I mean, you've achieved so much, but do you think you would have absolutely, I mean, you were smashing people, winning national titles, but do you think you could have been even more dominant if you weren't organising events? Or was organised, because no one else was organising events, was it because you were putting on events or helping organise events that means you got to pull more, therefore you got to be even better?
It's a very good question, mate. And if I'm perfectly honest, I will never know the answer. I think there's a bit of both. I think there's a situation where it's been very beneficial for me to have done that because of the experience you gain and the enjoyment you gain. It's not all moonlight and roses. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of stress involved with that, and I do think it definitely does detract from your performance. All my standout performances in my arm wrestling career have always been when I've not been running the show, when I could focus on arm wrestling. It also looks detrimental in terms of the amount of time you can put into training. But you did hit the nail on the head a little bit with the whole activity thing. I don't necessarily believe that's just because I ran events. I think it's more because I was obsessed with the sport. Utterly obsessed. I mean, if you speak to my wife, she's the good-looking woman in the other room that fucking hates me. that girl, she'll tell you that I was obsessed. I mean, you know, she'd be up in the bedroom at 12 at night, wondering why the hell I'm downstairs doing hand grippers, or you know, I'll be doing wrist rolls and trying to think of a way, because in my mind some kid in Russia was doing that.
Yeah.
You know, I always remembered the quote, my sporting heroes, Jack Dempsey.
Yeah.
I always remember the quote about it's hard to win a fight and to be motivated for a fight when you're trying to train and you're wearing silk underwear. Well, there's a little bit of that mentality that stuck with me, and I always figured that the guy who's working hardest, the guy who's most committed, the guy who's ready to grind more, he's going to get up and do that set of plate-loaded grips. He's going to do that heavy pull-up session, whatever it is. There's always that guy, and you never know who that guy is. And when hard work meets talent, you get a champion. So I figured if I didn't have the I could certainly outwork the next guy, you know.
Oh, mate, it's not rocket science, you know. Hard work, talent, bang, it's all going to happen. It's hard enough to become a national champion, and you did it on many occasions. Was it when you won a national championship, or was it when you won a European championship? When was the moment in time? Or it could have even been before that. I don't know. When was the time when you were right? I'm going to be world champion. I'm going to be world champion.
I believe that probably around 1994 would represent the time when I knew that I had something different, something special, and at a world level. And I thought to myself, "Oh, maybe I can do something here." I mean, one of the guys in Sweden, who was called Andreas Rundström, magnificent arm wrestler, underrated arm wrestler but those people who are deep embedded in the sport will know. Andreas, phenomenal puller, had his own unique style, very open top roll, great wrist and hand strength, amazing integrity in his wrist and hand. And when I was at the World Championships in Sweden in 1994, and ironically, I was carrying a pretty serious injury. It was the first time I'd had a pretty good injury in the sport of arm wrestling. I popped my collateral ligaments in the elbow. Everybody's done that, when you hear the old, training up for the show. Maybe 2-3 weeks out from the event, I was in a deep hook match with a guy I was training with, and just timed it wrong, and he hit and I hit, and I got the old pop him up, just, and I remember thinking, "Oh shit, what the was that?" And the other guy felt it and went like, "Whoa, was that something popped there?" And I was like, "I'm okay." And as soon as I straightened my arm, it's like somebody stuck a knife behind my elbow, just that burning. I was like, "Oh," and they're like, "Oh, don't tell me you've hurt yourself." And I'm like, "Yeah, shit, I've done something there. I don't know, but you ice it, you take time off, and that's it." But it sort of ended my prep for the Worlds, and I didn't really do any training up to that point. Went in the competition itself and had a pretty bad day, but in true Hermes Gasparini style, after the show, I want to arm wrestle anybody. So I've had a couple of beers, and I'm the young dad kid that's going to go on the practice table till I can't hold my own dick. So basically, I'm pulling everybody, and I've pulled so many matches, maybe, I don't know, 20 matches. I've pulled a lot of matches with a lot of good arm wrestlers. And Andreas comes over and he pulls with me, and I'm giving him problems, like major issues. He's hitting and he's losing his. He starts to hit on me and his wrist goes a little bit, and I get a couple of pins and he gets more. He was 60-40, but I was much more tired. And Andreas, who was always a very, very straight guy, he just said to me, "Hey, you're really fucking good." Like, he just said, what's your name?" And I said, "Oh, I'm Neil. Nice to meet you, mate." And he just said, "I remember that name. Stay out of my weight class. You're really good." I laughed, and that was that. And I remember on the plane coming home from that show, I remember thinking, wow, that's the dude that won because he won his weight class.
Yeah.
He won I think it was the 75s. He won the 75 kilo class or 80 kilo class. I think it was 75s. So he won the 75 class, beat the Georgian in the final. And I thought, wow, maybe I got something. And it gave me a tremendous spur, because I'd just seen this guy who's at the top of the podium, and I felt that he is, even if I was deluded that night, in my deluded mind, he was human.
Yeah.
So suddenly you go from the guy who, this is the guy who's out of reach. This is the guy he's the guy, he's going to win. To just giving him that little tap on the shoulder. And I felt like I did that. And 2 years later, I was on the second spot at the podium at Worlds in Virginia Beach. So it upped my game. It upped my game, gave me a great deal of confidence,
Oh, what a moment. Some would say that he was picking up what you were putting down. Then the moment came. 2001. Flew over to Italy and just went, "Thank you very much, the WAF, World Arm Wrestling Federation. That World Championship is mine." The footage is unbelievable. It's recently been released, the where you win the final and you get shown your medal, your trophy and everything. You're there holding the flag. What does it feel like, mate? What does it feel like, especially for a lot of plebs like us that just might not get there? What does it feel like? You're standing up there, and you've done it a couple of times. You've done it with the World Arms Sport Federation as well. But they say, Neil Pickup, world champion.
You know what, mate? It was one of the best nights of my life. I love Italy. I love the country of Italy. I like the people of Italy, the culture. It was almost fairy story for me, a little bit, because you always kind of think if something like that happens, number one, I always wanted it to happen in Europe, and I mean that with the greatest of respect to the United States. But one of the reasons that I wanted for that to happen in Europe is because the general perception, whether true or false, was that you win a tournament in Central Europe, you're a bad mother, you know, because everybody's there. Everybody can drive to the show, huge turnouts, and it's massive class. A lot of big names in there. And I think that helped my style because a lot of the time I was able to finish quickly. So when I managed to get that first win, off the back of so many silvers, that was the thing. I was scared of myself. I think I want to go out and say I genuinely believe that I beat myself, certainly on two other occasions. I know I did. I know I was the strongest man in the class. I know I should have won the world title twice before that. And I bottled it. Truth be known, I beat. That's how it goes. I something didn't join up. I doubted myself at a time when you cannot doubt yourself and you've got to go 100 miles an hour. And I made stupid mistakes and lost matches I shouldn't have lost. But that's the game. It's not just physical, it's mental. And that day, a better man beat me. Clearly, they were better. They won and I didn't. So the day that I tilted that, I knew it was coming. I don't know. I know that sounds stupid, right? But I knew. I told everybody. I told my mum and dad. I told my wife. My sister was out there with me. My training partners. I told everybody. I remember I was with Chris Andrews and Andy Barker, two of the top UK lads before we went out there, and Craig. And we were getting ready to catch the plane over. I said, I'll tell you what, guys. And they were very confident. They were all saying, Neil, you're a bad man. I'd had a result earlier that year in Vegas. I pulled a class over there which had a lot of bad dudes at this event. There were guys like Svetan Gashevsky, Yoshinobu Kanai, Monster Michael Todd, loads of guys like that in my weight class. And listen, there's myth and legend. Everybody sees that a different way. And I'm going to tell you right now, I love Svetan Gashevsky. Svetan Gashevsky, in my opinion, may be the greatest lightweight arm wrestler of all time. And if he is not, he's certainly in the top three. Ooh. Engin's right there, Cobra's right there, Svetan's right there, Patton's right there, and there are a couple of others in that breath. But I'll tell you this, there's never been a better lightweight arm wrestler than Svetan Gashevsky. And I mean that with every fibre of my being.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of bullshit talked about that tournament, and let it be known. That day, I'll beat all them motherfuckers.
Yes!
Hey, and I mean that. And Svetan, I love you, dude. But you know, and I know, what really fucking happened that day. A lot of other days, but I know that day.
That's
in. My day.
Get in, yes! Beautiful, that's what we want, a bit of truth behind context, because everyone can sit there and just shout out stories, and it's getting even worse with social media, with the lies just floating around. You've heard it straight from the Godfather of arm wrestling. He's called him out, he's just let him know, you know exactly what happened, and if you don't believe Neil Pickup, then change the channel. That's all I can say.
Listen, the truth of it is this. I got the whole goddamn tournament on video, every ounce of it, so everybody can see what happened, and they can see the timings of the matches and so on. The famous match between Svetan Gashevsky and Yoshinobu Kanai happened after I put him in the losing bracket. Yeah. That's it. Fact. That's when it happened. So anybody who say, oh, well, you know, Neil only won cause, bullshit. Neil won because he's the strongest dude in the class that day. End of. End of. And that day gave me tremendous confidence. Other men that were in the room that day speaking to me and coming over and saying, and they'd felt me pull a lot at various tournaments all around the world, and to a man, they were coming up to me saying, mate, you are on fire here. Let me tell you now, you've leveled up. You know, out my time, everything was on. I wasn't injured. Everything was good. I felt silk smooth. John, who I pulled that day, came over afterwards and said, you feel ridiculous today. Very, very good. Everyone. No higher compliments. Pascal Girard, who was over there with us, and he said, Neil, right now, your level is really, really, really high. And so I went to the Worlds and I said to Craig and Andy, and I said, guys, honestly, if I don't win it this year, I don't know whether I'll ever win this thing. Because I feel so strong, it's vile. I feel friggin' unbelievable. Everything. Fluid, good, just on. I feel great. So when you're like that and you've no excuses, there's nothing in your mind that's giving you that doubt. And also I was pissed off. Because a couple of times I knew I'd dropped it at the final hurdle when I should have won. And then I'd gone to 5 other tournaments and beat the shit out of the guy that won. So, and I'm not talking practice table. I mean, I beat the shit out of the guy in the competition. So I knew, can I beat that? Yeah, I can beat that guy. And I'm weighing up all the guys who were in the class, and I'm thinking, yeah, I can beat that guy, beat that guy, I can beat that guy, I can beat that guy. I was really, really confident. So I just felt that I could win that day. And I know I spoke to Engin the night before, who's a magnificent arm wrestler and also reader of the sport of arm wrestling. He understands the sport. And he said, oh, Neil, you've got a mega chance. I think, you know, right now, everybody's telling me you're on fire. I think you've got a great chance. And it was just giving you that little bit of confidence. So, look, like anything else, nothing's smooth. That competition didn't go smooth. I wrestled well for 5 minutes. My first couple of matches were great. Then I wrestled like a dickhead. And then I came back on and wrestled really good again. I took a loss on fouls when I was winning the match against the world champion, the reigning world champion, Igor Moseyev. He's a great dude from Ukraine. Took his hand and wrist. We stopped in the center. He went to try and hook me. Didn't hook me. His wrist flattened. I found my position, clicked his wrist, and I thought, oh, got you. And you know that feeling. Any good top row, it's and his wrist, oh. And I thought, oh, that's it. And so I immediately go for the guns. You know, it's like, and as soon as I do, I get an elbow pop. And it's right, okay, foul, Great Britain. And I'm like, oh, God. So, and this guy's dangerous. So I'm thinking, shit, what a fool. I had that. I could have just stuck inside, sat there, no problem. But I'm like an idiot. And in my mind, then we're back on rewind. It's like, oh, God, I'm going to bottle it again. I'm going to throw it away. Some stupid bullshit. We go again. Almost same thing. My teammate shouts up, Neil, just frigging hold him. You're clearly stronger today. Just hold him. So I literally did. I just, we go again. And he frigging pushed me. He goes, as his wrist folds, he literally went and pushed me off the back. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, and the down ref elbow. And I'm like, yeah, but he pushed me. Guys go away. They have a little chat. Second foul, winner. And I am, you know what? Best thing that could have happened to me that day. Best thing that could have happened to me that day. Because then I went from nervous to fuck you.
Yes.
At that point, it was on. It was on. That was it. Single match from then on. Serving aces, dude. Serving aces. Gone.
Oh, and that's what makes this three things make this 2001 the victory in Italy so impressive. One was your silver medals beforehand to just almost get there, shit the bed, almost get there, shit the bed, almost get there. Then in the final, if you blink, You miss Neil Pickup winning a world champion. So hearing that story of getting that win early and then you're feeling strong, it showed in the final. I felt bad for the bloke on the other end of the table thinking he had the confidence that he was about to be world champion, because it was just, when you just had that hit, it was all, and you could tell, I mean, of course it says Neil Pickup world champion, but you could just even tell with the body language and the look beforehand, you were running through this guy, like a dodgy curry. It was unbelievable. But the third thing I find very, very impressive about this world championship is leading up to it, and years before, you were getting TV deals in England to get arm wrestling on TV while training to become a world champion. This is a man that could have easily given up the parallel dream of being, world champion, then getting the sport on the TV. But you were doing deals in the UK. Later on, we'll get to Eurosport in a minute. But I find that just so impressive, because usually when you do podium and you don't get the number one spot, sacrifices come in. But you continued to drive not only yourself, but you said, sport of arm wrestling, get on. I'm going to take you to the mothership. And that's why I find these world championships so super impressive.
Well, one of the things behind that, mate, was that after, I got the Grand Slam, so I got British, European and World on 2 occasions. And when I first got British, European and World Champion, I think, and I've won a lot of other international events, major international events at that time.
60 of them, guys. Don't sell yourself, Neil. 60 international events, 60 plus. So don't sell yourself short, mate. You are a bad man.
So I get back and I'm thinking, I can use this to elevate the sport in our country, to do something with it, to get notoriety. And I went on some TV shows, like I went on The Big Breakfast, and where else did I go on? I went on a number of Great British Quiz, all kinds of stuff. Went on a number of things. Red Alert with the National Lottery. We did all kinds of stuff around that time. That was it. You got to hang out with Beyonce Knowles. I got to hang out with friggin' the Spice Girls, Jerry Halliwell, Kylie Minogue. Brian Adams. I bought Shania Twain a bacon butty, and she played me a tune on her guitar, acoustic. I mean, that was cool as balls. Just weird stuff that happened where you're like, after you come out, you're like, did that just happen? Is that happened? What the fuck? Amazing weird stuff. So it was mega, but the reason being, I was trying to get the sport to be elevated. So I walk into somewhere and go, I'm world arm wrestling champion. And some dude go, is that even a sport?
Oh, yeah.
And I'd be like, oh, man, are you serious? So, and various things pissed me off. You'd go to the Worlds, and it's the final of the Worlds, right? So there's nobody left in it. They're doing the presentation, the finals. And it'd be, okay, to one side of the table, Russia. To the other side of the table, 2166 England. And I'd be like, really? He can't even say my name. Come on. The final of the Worlds. Give me a bit, Let's hear who the Russian dude is. Let's hear who the Ukrainian dude is, the Turkish guy, the American, whoever the hell it is. Let's hear who that guy is. We don't want to know just it's a number from Russia. If Irina Gladkaya is going up to pull the final of the Worlds, let's just say Irina Gladkaya, for Christ's sake. Let's say Gabriela Vasconcelos. Let's say who it is. Just so people at least know that's who that guy is. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I've got to do something different to have a different platform where people know the characters. They're not buying the characters because they don't see them. They see a number from a country. So where that whole concept came. And I approached guys with world titles. People, people say all the bullshit about 3 times world champion. So, you can say, okay, well, it depends what your class as world champion. In my mind, I'm 2 times world champion. WAF world champion, where I'd say that's an undisputed, I was world champion, end off. On the third count was professional. Now, for me, that's an Arm Wars world champion. That only started when we got to America and they're looking for the promotional angles, So it's like, okay, what are your accolades? Well, and you tell them the story as I'm doing here. So we went to Japan, 2005, right? So in 2005, Japan, I'm going to be hosting the World Championships in Manchester. Let me tell you right now, that was hard.
Yeah.
That was a busy-ass time. That was I did Arm Wars, same year at the Trafford Center, and then Worlds. God, it was hard. But we were doing the professional matches then. So the guy who's won the World Championship at 90 kilos, a guy called Sergei Ivanov from Ukraine. So he's the then reigning WAF World Champion. So, he's the guy who's literally right then. He's carrying the world title. So he's coming to Arm Wars, and he's a great dude. And I say, hey, sir, shall me and you pull for the World Championship in Arm Wars? Because you're a world champion. So this is professional. So we'll do it, for money. We do it at Trafford Center. Me and you, 6 rounds. What do you think? He's like, let's fucking go. So we did. I pulled Sergei, and that's that. We pulled in Arm Wars, and that's how I got the sort of Arm Wars title. I later relinquished that. I didn't lose it. I gave it up because I thought, that don't look good.
No, it doesn't.
No. It was actually a friend of mine, a guy called Paul Alderson, who's in fight sports. He said, yeah, but you can't really... You need to, you can't really you can't be a champion in it as well, Neil.
Nah.
Even if you compete, it's okay, but you can't be champion. So I put a vacant match up for other guys, and they come and pull. I step away from it, and it was a good move. You gotta think these things through. So that's anyway. I'm droning on, but that's.
Nah, that's right. You can't walk into the Arm Wars office and it says Neil Pickup Employee of the Month every month. So it was a smart move. And it's funny how the way the world works, because when Arm Wars was at the Trafford Center, the Aussie arm wrestler was living an hour away in Warrington.
Oh my word! Did you come?
No. So what had happened? I was over there for basketball. Quick side note: I was over there for basketball. Had a little bit of my eye on arm wrestling, just as a fan. And then it was and then the what happened was I was living and I was about the same 45 minutes away from Manchester, and it wasn't until I came back in about 2005 2006, and then Arm Wars was on ESPN over here, and I can't remember what match it was, but it was boring. But you were commentating, so and obviously everyone knows it's something that I thoroughly love doing. So that's what kept me drawn in watching, and I was like, oh my god, I cannot believe that I was 45 minutes away from this, because I would have sweated all over you. I would have been, mate, give me the headset, I would have kept nudging at your shirt and things like that. And it's just funny, like now I've had to wait 15, 16 years to talk to the bloke that was just up the road from me for about a year. It was, because when I saw it, I was like, Trafford Center. I was like, he's arm wrestling in a shopping, like Trafford Center. Really? And then,
we ran the best arm wrestling tournaments of all time in that venue.
Yeah.
I mean, Arm Wars Acid Rain, which is the Arm Wars Acid Rain was that was the first meeting of Monster Michael Todd and Devin Lara. That was the one. That was an incredible show. It's going back to what we were saying a moment ago. I was saying about the aspiration to change the WF worlds, change how things were done. One thing I'm super proud of. People say, okay, what do you, what are your proud moments? I genuinely think that I was certainly in my existence. So from my first World Championships, I think it was 87, England, 88. So, I went to England in 87, didn't compete there, didn't go. 88 was my first one, where I first came across the legendary Andrew Rhodes doing his thing. But it was spit and sawdust arm wrestling. And then it went to professional but formal. And then what I said to people at the WF Congress, look, when you come to the Trafford Center, I'm going to show you how you should do the finals of arm wrestling. This is how you should do it. So get your pens and papers ready. Watch this shit. And so we knocked out I said we want more tables. We're the first country to say that. So I said, more tables. How many tables? I said, how many can we fit in? 9. I think we ran 6 or 7 that year for the first time. And I think at one point we got up to 8 to try and hit the necessity in terms of timings. Because the whole thing was the finals were the show, you know what I mean? So you got to the finals, you were the show. So top 3 are in the finals. I was pissed because I didn't get a chance to arm wrestle with Luke Reamer from the US because Luke wouldn't come out and pull. Because we had girls in, they weren't even like bikini, they were like a combat shorts and like a cut top. And Luke wouldn't come out, wouldn't pull.
Oh.
So,
wait.
Okay. So, yeah, he didn't like that. Those were his beliefs. But what we did do was exactly as advertised. It was the dancers there, but not like, I mean, real show. It was big screen, Jumbotron. There's the stacks of the arm wrestler. Each arm wrestler comes up. I remember I'm backstage and I'm doing some stuff for Sky Sports, and I can hear the tune that's come on. They're walking, entrance thing. Girls are walking the athletes down, or dudes for the girls walking them down. And I remember Marlene Kleinsmith's pulling Irina Gladkaya in the final of the ladies, like 60s, okay? Or 60 or 65 kilo class. And just as I'm doing this interview for Sky, this guy's talking to me, and suddenly he breaks off for a second. He says, we got to wait till the entrance tune's gone because it'll pick up on the audio. So we just look away from the camera for a moment. We take a second. And I look around the Trafford Center, and it is busting. It's just absolutely, standing room only. Ridiculous stuff. Pickpockets central, right? Everybody's in there. And I'm looking around, and I hear the music start for Marlene Kleinsmith, and in the beats of the music, it's Thunderstruck, I think it was. And as it comes in it comes out, and you can just hear, sweeter, from the back. They're absolutely going, and place is going frigging barmy. And I remember thinking,
yes, we're
this
on.
Is what because the people that were nothing to do with arm wrestling, and they had a counter in the Trafford Center, so it counted head numbers, how many people are in the Trafford Center. And on the previous shows we'd done, like when we did Arm Wars Acid Rain, we had the count of the numbers in there and so on, and it'd say, and this thing would count bodies so that if there was ever an emergency, or they know how many people were in the Orient Leisure Dome at that time. And Amy, who's running it with us, I says to her, Amy, how many people we got in? And she says, wait a minute. She goes on the walkie-talkie, comes back. She said, just under 16,000. And I'm like, woo-hoo-hoo.
For arm wrestling.
Awesome. Everybody's on it. Place is going nuts. And I remember thinking, after I finished the interview, I walked around with the microphone. I walked around the top tier, right against the handrail, walked around, and it was ace. Inspiring. Absolute quality. I loved it. I'll never forget that night.
Oh, mate, you've just done so much. That would have just been, that would have just put airs on your chest. Absolutely, you would have walked around like you were 10 foot tall with the Conor McGregor swag going on. That's unbelievable. And then in 2007, now I think this is very, could be wrong. I think this is very, very important because you land, you're on Sky Sports. Yeah, you're doing your shows all around England. For those, it's kind of like your Fox Sports in America, your Fox Sports Australia here. That's what Sky Sports is in the UK. But then in 2007, you landed